Hi guys, and welcome to my 5th Geeky Goblin Battle Report. Today I shall be taking you through my round 2 game against Elliot Morrish in the T4P Panithar Tournament. It's a push scenario, and myself and Elliot have played a couple of times, but always pleased to play him in a tournament, and it's going to be interesting. Elliot's a very good player, member of the rules committee, and also a key member of the Call to Arms team. So I'll have a lot of experience, and he's brought a pretty nasty army. So let's see how it goes. Sit back, enjoy the show, and I'll see you all at the end. So in this video, I'll be taking you through my second round battle in the T4P Panithar tournament, which was a one-day tournament played online using the Universal Battle 2 system and the Kings of War 3 rule set. It was organised by the Golden Troll events team, and I think this is an event they do every year. I've not taken part before, but it was a lot of fun and very well run. In this video, I'll be talking about the lists that both myself and Elliot took, the scenario, looking at the terrain. The scenario in this case was push, and the terrain was set for each round. Deployment of the armies and the plan that I hope to employ. The game, turn by turn, will conclude with an action replay saying who won and if there were any lessons to be learned. Right, so let's look at Elliot's list. Well, I think we've all been there before, where we've looked at the Dwarves on paper and thought, yeah, I want to take them. But then when we come to play with them, we either can't build a good army or they don't quite work as we want. Well, I think Elliot's really nailed it here. I think this is a great army, and I will be borrowing this design in the future to play. I think he's done a really great job. So I'll take you through what he's put in there. So the first thing is he's got 4 regiments of Iron Guard. Brilliant units, 150 points for unit strength 3, defense 6, 15, 17. You can't go wrong. And then he's also added the throwing mastiffs onto them just to make them extra tasty. They're not getting anywhere quick. Then he's gone for 2 hordes of shield breakers. Not so defensible with defense 4. However, they've all got crushing strength and 25 attacks, so pretty good damage dealing unit. And for 205 points, an absolute snip. Again, he's added the throwing mastiff to both of those. Then he's gone for a unit of rangers. A unit I like these. So rangers attack 4, but they have scout and light crossbows, so they should be able to start adding some wounds to things that he wants to, and maybe even taking a token early if he needs. Then he's gone for a unit of sharpshooters. Again, a very good ranged support unit for 100 points. And I think you can see the theme. He's got a lot of shooting in this list. Then he's gone for actually 3 hunting mastiff packs, all with throwing mastiffs. I like these for the dwarf army. They've got speed 6, which is very helpful in a slow army, and good chaff to defend his lines if he needed. Then he's gone for 3 Iron Belcher organ guns, so to really boost up his shooting attack. I know a lot of people don't quite like these, but I'm a big fan. 90 points, 12 shots, piercing 2. When you spam them like this, that's 36 shots. So you're going to get 12 hits on average, or you should be. That's going to be doing a lot of damage. Good for controlling a flank or any segment of the table. Then he's gone for a Dwarf Lord. Now, this is something I've not seen before. Really like this. Dwarf Lord with the wings of Honeymaze, or if we're going to be thematic, the jetpack of Honeymaze, which reduces his defense by 1, but is his defense 6 anyway. I don't think anyone's minding. But it gives a really useful long-range unit to be able to shut down any shooting, or potentially challenge a wizard, etc. And again, he's 13, 15, 5 attacks, melee 3, so crushing 1. So he's going to be putting out quite a lot of damage as well. So a great little unit. I would recommend anyone looking at taking that. Then two dwarf army standards. Just to add, I think the leadership bubbles. One with the loot and one with the diadem of dragonkind. Both standard additions, and I like them both. And finally, he's gone for a steel juggernaut, which is a great character. Defense 6 again, so lots of that in the army, and 5 shots. So There's an awful lot of shooting in this army, and a lot of defence 6, so it's going to be very hard to get to. It is a little bit slow, so we'll see how that goes. In total, 26 unit strength and a total units of 18, which is very high. So that's I think it's a really nice thing that Elliot's done with the list here. I think it's got everything I'd want. Great for taking tokens, great for defending, a lot of shots it can put out, and it's going to be very hard to kill. So let's see how it did. Right, let's have a look at my army. So, as you probably all got used to now, I've been running the Forces of the Abyss for a while, and I've nearly settled on my 2,300 point list, but slight change from last time, but I'll take you through it. So, first off, I've gone for 3 regiments of flame bearers. The more I play, the more I think this is the core of the army that I will be taking every time. A lot of damage you can put out, great for controlling table quarters, great for scoring because there's a lot of unit strength there. The hard to shift because of the regen and the unlock, so brilliant start to the army. Then a unit of Molochs. Now I've put the scrying gem in there with them. Now I put that in because I had some points left at the end, and I think it's a relatively helpful item. What I would say about the scrying gem is it's very useful if you've got something like a dragon or Bale in this case, which you want to place in a position where he's going to put maximum threat. So I hoped it was going to help me in this scenario or in this tournament. In this particular matchup, because Elliot had 18 drops, it didn't do me any good. But I still think it's a useful item, and I may still persist with it. Then 2 units of Tortured Souls. Again, great units. We've talked about them before. But unit strength 2 for 120 points. And dash 14 with life leech 2. I wouldn't leave home without them. Brilliant for any army. Vessel Horseman with the boots. Again, you can have them with the Caterpillar, but I prefer the boots. And the reason is because my next unit, the Hellhounds, which is a new unit for me to try out, or one that I'm looking to perfect, I put the Caterpillar on. Now, I like the Hellhounds. A lot of people are a little dubious about them because they're a little bit soft, and they are. You've got to be careful with using them. However, they're only 205 points, so it's not the end of the world if you lose them. But what they have is speed 9, nimble, and now with the push of the Caterpillar, they can really get around the board, which is great for helping out, for supporting areas you need, or for getting around the rear of a unit, or just causing threat because of the speed 9. I like them as a unit, and I think I'm going to be sticking with them for a while anyway. Then 2 Abyssal Fiends. Love these guys, 175 points. They do everything really. They inspire, 7 attacks, melee 3, defense 5, 15, 17 on the nerve, the vicious, and then on top of that you've got 5 all 10. And don't forget the height 6, which means that they're very rarely going to be having any cover on that fireball. So you're hitting on 4s and wounding on. Well, I usually try and put them against nothing worse than defense 4 units. And not bad for holding up a flank or just threatening a section because of their movement 7. Then 2 Abyssal Warlocks, standard but brilliant for 90 points. Now I put the Helping Blood Mask in there. Now normally I'd put Seductress but couldn't fit it in, so I thought I'd give the Blood Mask a try. Slightly different prospect, not quite as manoeuvrable, but not too far off, and probably a little bit more resilient than the Seductress. And finally, Manifestation of Bale, who is my core to any army. I just think he's got so much going on, and he's such a useful model. So let's see how the armies faced up against each other. Right, let's look at the battlefield. So the scenery is preset for each round in this tournament. Looking at it, it's pretty well distributed. Nothing major to pick out. It's going to skew it, but just some features. So I think we can probably say that this section here is one side of the battlefield, and the other side fits in there because of the 2 trees blocking the height and making it difficult to get through. We're also going to note that there's 2 impassable terrain here, essentially splitting an army, so the armies are going to have to funnel around it. So watch out for that. Finally, I think we could say that this section here is another sort of defensible position, which is where you want to put your units you want to keep alive. That's pretty much it for the battlefield. Maybe just noting this hill here might have an opportunity to block against some shooting as well, as we know that both our armies have got some shooting. Let's use that correctly. But all in all, there's quite a lot of rocky terrain, so the shooting will be limited or affected by that. The scenario today we'll be playing will be push. Push is a scenario where both sides have to get tokens into the other side's half to score double points, but also get points for every token they control. So 1 point for everything you control, which is doubled up if it is in your opponent's half. You start off with D3 tokens each and 1 in the centre. In this scenario, we had 2 tokens each. Now, when you play in push, the 2 things that I would say that I've seen are typically you don't split the tokens. Tried it with and without. Both myself and Elliot discussed this during the game. And typically, once you've placed the token on one unit, you keep it there. You put it on a unit that's going to survive pretty well, or can get into positions where it's defended. So something that's quite short, nothing too high. The other thing to note is that when they're carrying the tokens, their movement is 5, movement's 5. They lose nimble, they can't be surged or wind blasted, so it does slow down a unit. So be careful not to hinder a unit by putting that on. And the other thing to note about the scenario is the center token, which in this case over here. What I have seen when playing push is typically that both sides get their scoring points across the line. It's very hard to get the tokens off your opponent usually. They defend it well, so don't try that too much. But don't give them a free rein. But you will be looking to play for that middle token as a way of differentiating between the two sides. So that's really when I play push. That's the thing that really seems to come into play. Just as a final note, the push scenario is there are kind of 3 elements to it that you're playing. You've got to grab that middle token early and control it. Stopping your opponent getting forward, not necessarily taking his tokens, and making sure that your tokens can get into a scoring position and are still alive. So that's how to play push. We rolled off to see who chose sides, and I won and decided to go to the south. The reason was that I thought there were more blocking pieces of terrain in the north of the board to stop his shooting. I also rolled a 2 on my crystal pendant, which didn't make much of a difference to the deployment, so he had at least 2 spare units at the end, which he left his steel juggernaut on his lord last. In terms of our deployment, so the first point to note is that Elliot's kind of deployed all in this section here. So I was quite pleased because there's a lot of things blocking and shooting there. But he has deployed his organ guns out onto the flank, and both the Lord and Steel Juggernaut protecting them. And he's got a lot of tough units to kill in there. So my basic thought is that the token in the middle, he's got 2 fast units here and here that might try and get to it, control it, and then back it up with those really tough units. And if they do get it, then that's going to be very difficult for me. For my behalf, I have also deployed my vast majority of my shooting on the left-hand flank there, and I have put a lot of fast units here. The idea is that these will be able to get to that token. And finally, on the right-hand flank, I put my Blood Mask over on the right-hand flank, basically to try and get to maybe 1 or 2 of their Mastiff units, or potentially onto the Scout unit there, and also the Hellhounds. I put them out there to just keep them honest on that flank, because I didn't want them going anywhere near the organ guns, frankly, at least not for now. On the left-hand flank of my army, I put Bale and the Horsemen out there. The idea is that the Horsemen would move forward and Bale would hide behind them, so they kind of go hand in glove. But Bale should hopefully get round the army, maybe take out those organ guns, because I did deploy Bale last, so I knew where the organ guns were. And he also has his Dark Majesty special skill, which I think Elliot probably isn't well, he'll be familiar with, but he won't be expecting. No one is, because no one ever uses it. Which means that everyone within 6, you can use a shooting attack. Everyone within 6 is disordered, so can't shoot. So I thought that might be a useful opportunity for Bale as well. Anyway, so that was my deployment. So what's my plan based on with this deployment? Well, it's simple really. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and shoot the organ guns off and these steel juggernauts and the Lord with my shooting and with Bale's support. I'm going to try and get the pistol horseman forward with Bale hiding behind, so he can also pick on those organ guns. Basically give me a free shot to get this unit up into the scoring zone, because it's quite away from his unit, so if I can get rid of that shooting, then I can score 4 points for free. In the middle here, I'm going to try and get this warlock onto that token and run back behind my lines, and then use my 2 fiends as blockers, and with the tortured souls as well, adding support. So we're just going to try and put a line into here that he's going to run against, whilst I take the token away, which I'm behind the wood, so it's hard for him to shoot, and also he's so slow, I should be able to outrun him for the rest of the game. On the other flank here, well, what I'm going to try and do is just harry his units. I'm not going to win it over there, but I may be able to slow him down or stop him. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to try and get the Molochs onto the hill here. So if they're charging off, they're going to be causing some damage. So he's not going to want to get too close to them. The Bloodmask. Now I've got an interesting plan with this Bloodmask. He's not very hard hitting, but he's pretty hard to kill. So I'm going to try and send him against these scouts with the intention that they won't kill him and he won't kill them. Which means that the scoring units here are going to find it very hard to get into the zone of scoring. And then beyond that, I was thinking of using the Tortured Souls here and potentially the Hellhounds to further slow down that flank. So I'm not going to win there, but I might be able to slow him down because he does have units, so he does have that wood in front of him, which means he won't be marching forward fast. So let's see if I can hold him in. The other point, just on the tokens, Elliot's placed both of his tokens on this unit here, which is defense 6. So they're going to be very hard for me to kill it. So I'm not going to be able to kill it at all. So I'm just going to slow it down. That's important to note. And I place mine on the left-hand side. On a unit that's got regen, I don't think you should be able to take it off in one go. So if I do lose it, I've got a Warlock here to back that up and to take it on. Potentially even another Flamebearer's unit. So let's see how the game went. So turn 1, how did it go? Well, we rolled to see who went first, and Elliot won and decided to take it. I think he chose that because he wanted to put pressure on that token, or at least stop me putting pressure on the middle token early. What did he do? Well, he moved these guys forward just a touch, which is nice to see actually. I like getting artillery into better positions if he can't shoot. Everything else moved forward just a touch, but his Mastiff hunting packs were a little bit faster, so they're ahead and putting pressure on. It is worth noting that he left me this charge here. I wonder if I'll take it, but I think it's a bit of a trap. And yeah, so just a steady, slow move forward. Then with his shooting, his Steel Juggernaut did 3 wounds to the Warlock there, and his Scouts did 2 wounds to my Tortured Souls. Got a waiver on the Warlock, which was a bit disappointing, but these things happen. And that was the end of his turn 1. So what did I do? Well, firstly, I moved these guys further forward, putting my tokens into cover as well, which I wanted to do. I turned my Warlock behind and moved him backwards 3, just to get him further forward. I moved these guys up with Bale behind, so Bale's protected, but in range of this gun here, so I can start picking those off if I need to. In the middle, I brought everything further forward here, just a touch, but I didn't get into the woods. The reason being that if I was going to put into the woods, he had a lot of units that were going to put on me, so I thought I'll stay behind the woods, and first in, we can shoot or we can do some damage. Looking at the right-hand flank, right, what do I think? Well, I looked at the Hellhounds and I thought, at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen here. I don't really need them. So I decided to redirect them to the centre with the idea that they're going to come and maybe be part of that centre token grabbing team. but I had my mask all on his own, just push forward a touch, in range of this unit here. I didn't take the charge with these tortured souls on the dogs here. The reason was that it was a bit of a trap, and I thought, well, actually, I can do quite a bit of damage with some shooting, and maybe wipe them off. Then with shooting, so how do we do? Well, first off, I shot all of my 3 units at the steel juggernaut here. I did 3 wounds. He is defense 6, so not too bad, but it's not to take him down. I need to get rid of him. He's a very awkward piece. And then on the middle here, I shot all 3 of these at the dogs. Only doing 4 wounds, but getting a waiver, which I was very happy with, because that really blocked up his centre. There was no combat for this turn, so that's the end of turn 1. So Elliot's turn 2. What did he do? Well, first off, he charged the Lord against my Flamebearers. He moved his Steel Behemoth in front of the Organ protecting it. He brought these Ironbreakers to face this way, so protecting the Guns if anyone went into them. He brought his Sharpshooters to put pressure on the left-hand flank. He moved this unit of dogs into the woods so they could shoot at my left flank, and also putting pressure around the token. He moved everything here just a bit forward so they could charge through, but obviously this wavered unit here really slowed down. He brought these guys as far forward as he could, but the woods were slowing down. And finally he brought his Mastiffs here to block up some of my movement, but most importantly to shoot out my Tortured Souls. So how did he shooting go? Well, the answer is very well. First off, he shot at my Knights here with the Organ Gun that could see and did 2 wounds. He then shot all the rest of his shooting on this flank at my Warlock and my Flamebearers, killing both of them, which is about right. It's an awful lot of firepower he can bear there, but that did make me worry for the future of that flank. And then he did 4 more wounds with his Hunting Mastiffs on the Tortured Souls, but they didn't waver. Then in that was it. There was no combat for him, so that was the end of his turn 2. But I was feeling like I was going to get shot off on his face. So what did I do my turn 2? Well, first off, I brought my Knights forward to put pressure against this unit here if they wanted to go forward, but also to try and charge the Organ Guns. I moved Bale back. The reason was that he was still in range of this Organ Gun here, and he could charge the unit here as well to support the Knights if he needed. But I didn't think that having him move further forward up to this zone here was a good idea, mainly because I wanted to be able to stop things coming at me rather than get around the back. What else did we do? So the Warlock charged the flank of his dogs. My Tortured Souls charged the front of his Shield Breakers here. I moved into the wood with my Fiend and picked up the token. Again, it's important to take control as soon as possible. I moved my Hellhounds further forward, so getting into that middle zone like I wanted them to. I charged with my Tortured Souls from here onto the damage Hunting Mastiffs. I charged the Fiend at his Mastiffs here, again putting pressure on that right hand flank, and I moved my Molochs onto the hill. Not quite deciding which way they were going to go, but they could support to the middle or potentially start to slow down because they could see here the left hand flank, the right hand flank. I also charged his scouts with my mask as I wanted to slow down, so that was pretty good because he couldn't then get those tokens out. He could counter charge me with the other units, but I was thinking maybe the Molochs might deter him from doing so. In the shooting phase, what do we do? Well, I managed to shoot back at him, and both the the flame bearers, and Bale shot off his steel juggernaut, which was great because I needed to get rid of that. And that was pretty much all of my shooting this turn because everything else was in combat. In combat, I did 2 wounds back on his king. I did 4 wounds on the dogs here with the warlock and wavered them, which again was pretty good because it meant that they couldn't go shooting out behind my lines. I killed this unit of mastiffs, and I decided to move back just a touch with my tortured souls. There were 4 wounds on these mastiffs, but didn't get a waver with the fiend, and I did 2 wounds with the mask, but didn't get a waver either. So I had control of the token at the end of turn 2, but it felt like I wasn't in a great position as he was going to start taking things off. So what did Elliot do? Well, first off, he charged the flank of my token unit with his lord, leaving my unit of flame bearers here open to be shot if he wanted. He turned to face with this unit of dogs. He counter-charged here against my tortured souls. He charged my tortured souls here. He brought these round and these forward and these back. The reason was because he wanted to use his puppies on my fiend, but maybe he would have been better charging the Hellmask. He counter-charged with the scouts on the Hellmask there. So I think that was all of his movement. Then in shooting, what did he do? Well, first off, he shot off my flame bearers, which again just went to show that his shooting was very powerful, and I didn't look like I was able to hold that left flank. He shot with these 2 units at my fiend, doing 5 wounds, which I probably would take, though the hunting mastiffs are very dangerous on the dwarf list. And then in the combat phase, he did 2 wounds on the flame bearers here with a hindered charge, so I wasn't too worried there. He killed my tortured souls, which balance of probability is about right. He did wounds on this tortured soul, but didn't kill them. And he did 4 wounds on the Hellmask, but she's furious, so it doesn't matter. But she did get a waver. So my turn 3, what to do? Well, I moved forward my knights here so that they can still threaten this auger gun, but they were out of shooting range of the other 2. I charged Bale in the fiend and the warlock onto the dogs. The reason was I wanted to start putting pressure on that middle token. I needed to get things over there. I decided to bring my hellhounds here, so they were in range of the lord. So if he didn't destroy the flame bearers this turn, then I could put 24 hits on him, 4s and 4s. I felt like that was, with him having 2 wounds already on him, good chance of defending the tokens there. And it also needed some protection from that shooting. I charged both of my tortured souls here and my monarchs into the iron breakers, one off the hill, which was good. And I charged the hunting mastiffs with my fiend. The reason being that I wanted again to put pressure on that right hand flank, not necessarily going to win, but to just slow it down. And I counter-charged with my mask, and I regen 2 wounds as well there, which was really helpful. Yeah, that was all my movements. In the shooting phase, I didn't have any shooting, so that was worrying because I am quite a shooting army. In combat, I killed the mastiffs here, and I had it so that I turned it in. The Bale was facing up, the fiend is facing up, so as to put pressure on this unit here, and I turned to face the warlock. So again, just blocking up the big unit here. We did 6 wounds on the shield breakers, but on the iron breakers, but didn't kill them. Killed the hunting mastiffs and overrun by 4. So he's going to have to come at me with this unit here. And I killed the scouts with my mask and moved forward 1 inch. So that flank was going better than I thought, but the left-hand flank wasn't going too well at all. So what did Elliot do in his turn 4? Well, he moved the organ gun out of the charge of the knights. He turned to face with the Iron Guard here. He charged with the shield breakers against my warlock. He charged the shield breakers and the Iron Guard here against my fiend. And he counter-charged with his Iron Guard here against my Molochs. He moved his diadem shield bearer further forward, and he charged my mask with his Iron Guard here. What did he do with shooting? Well, he wasn't able to put anything into these knights here, so he shot everything he had at the fiend, doing 3 wounds, which I was quite pleased with, really. I think it could have been worse. And then that was all. Oh, sorry, and also with his diadem, he shot at my injured tortured souls and killed them, which was about right, I think. But a good example of where the diadem can be used effectively. So for 25 points, that's a good way of just adding a bit of extra shooting to your backline. Then in combat, what did he do? Well, he missed all of his hits against my flame bearers there, which I was quite pleased about. He killed my warlock with the shield bearers and kill and overran. So he's getting closer to that fiend. He only did 1 wound on my Molochs with the Iron Guard, which I was really pleased about. Unfortunately, he killed the wounded fiend there, but I expected that. And he did 2 more wounds on Mask and Wavering him. But not to worry, because I have Fury. Other than that, that's pretty much all of his combat. So what did I do my turn for? Well, first off, I moved my knights to put further pressure on those pesky organ guns. I charged in my hellhounds against his lord. In fact, there was a good opportunity here for a rules clarification, because I wanted to withdraw my flame bearers and turn to face upwards, and then move them forward. So essentially getting into a more shooty position, into a more scoring position. However, the rule clarification, which Elliot knows all about, is if you withdraw, you can then not end up. You can't move within an inch of the unit you've withdrawn from, which I think we've all kind of understood, but it was just nice to see it in action. So that was useful there. Then what did I do? Well, the middle of that wood, I had to have a good old think, because it was very unlikely I was going to be able to get that token away. But there was starting to be some wounds on, or there were a few wounds already on the siege breakers. So I thought the best thing to do was to charge in with the fiend who had the token, drop it, and then let Bale come and pick it up. But because of the angle there, he was protected from these Iron Guard, so that meant that he could live another day. On the right-hand flank, I counter-charged against the Iron Guard here, and I counter-charged with my mask here against his Iron Guard. I also regen 3 wounds here. So that was a big tick. That was a bit lucky. That really helped. Then in shooting, well, I didn't have any shooting to do this turn, so we just went straight into combat. I did 6 wounds here, but didn't get a waiver. I killed the Iron Guard here, and then turned to face with my Molochs. The reason was that I wanted to keep these 2 units honest and let this fight over here play out without the help of those 2 big units, because it looked like I was bogging down that scoring unit there. So that was going my way. But essentially, at the end of turn 4, that middle token in the woods is what we're all playing for. Turn 5. What happened? Well, the first thing is that the shield breakers counter-charged against the Fiend. The Iron Guard moved forward into the woods here. These two units charged against my Molochs, and he continued to charge against the Mask here. Then in the shooting phase, well, this was where it all kind of went a bit runny for me. He shot all three organ guns into the flame bearers, causing 3 wounds, and then rolling a double 6, which it can happen, but I didn't see it coming. So that meant those tokens were going to be very precarious for me to be able to pull them through. So that was all of his shooting. Oh no, sorry, he also put Bane on these Iron Guard here. Then in the combat phase, he killed my Fiend here, and killed my Molochs here, which expected to happen, but that's not good. But he only did 1 wound on the Mask, which meant that I got another waiver, but it didn't matter because I'm furious. But basically meant that was still bogging it down. So that was his combat. Then in my turn 5, what did I do? Well, I charged the Iron Guard with the Knights here, and I decided that I couldn't get Bale away, so I had to charge him in at the Siege Breakers there. That was the only option I had. I moved my Hellhounds onto the tokens, picked them up, but they were still in cover. And this time I decided to back off my Mask. The reason was that it would give him a hindered charge against my Mask rather than me being able to do any wounds. So just bogging him down. And I regened another wound, which is great. So that was all of my movements. I did 5 wounds on the shield breakers, but didn't get any. Didn't waver them. I killed the shield, so the Iron Guard here, and then overran onto the Siege Breakers, not getting into combat, but putting them under pressure. So Elliot's turn 6. What did he do? Well, he decided that he had to counter charge here against Bale, which he did. He moved these guys further forward to put pressure. He charged against my Mask, and that was pretty much all that he could do. He then, in the shooting phase, shot at my Hellhounds, doing 3 wounds, but not wavering them. He tried to put Bane Chant on here, but missed. Then in the combat phase, he did 6 wounds on Bale, but didn't waver him. So I was quite pleased with that. He also, in the shooting phase, he also put 2 wounds from the sharpshooters on the Knights, but didn't do anything to them either. So, turn 6, response, what did I do? Well, I charged the Knights against the shield breakers, and I moved Bale backwards. The reason was that I didn't want Bale to be in charge range of these guys here. If there was a turn 7, I kept my Hellhounds in the cover, even though I could have moved them forward for more points. I was winning at this stage, but I didn't want, if there was a turn 7, to have an easy shot at those Hellhounds, and I moved my Mask back again, just blocking up his ability to get that unit into a scoring position. So, at this phase, at the end of turn 6, I'm winning. So are we going to get a turn 7? Well, we rolled the dice and got a 6, which disappointed with. So what did happen in turn 7? Turn 7, what do we have? Well, this was a turn that really swung it. So the first thing that happened was he moved these guys further forward, but there was no point in doing anything further because he couldn't get through. He charged against my Mask with his Iron Guard, and that was pretty much all of his movement. Then shooting. Well, he put everything he could against the dogs and did 4 wounds, and then he shot everything else at Bale, causing 2 wounds. Unfortunately, my Hellhounds failed their leadership check. I think it was needing an 8, and that basically meant that it was going to be a draw. He did 2 months of bail, but didn't waver him. And then in the combat on the right-hand side, he did 3 wounds, but I survived. So that was the end of his turn 7. And in my turn 7, I just charged, finally getting one of the old guns with the knights and a few points. But I was unable to get these tokens, and that was the end of the game. So let's have an action replay, starting now. And there you have it. 20 seconds, a hard-fought draw between the Dwarves and the forces of the Abyss. So, what can we conclude? So let's have a look at my plan. First off, I had the second turn, which was not necessarily what I wanted because I wanted to get pressure on the middle token early, but I was able to get it because I've got a faster army. And owning that middle token really, well, it gave me the draw in the end because it was in a scoring position at the end of the game, getting the double points. So yeah, that was how I got the draw. Very important in push to get that middle token. So on the right hand side, I did manage to stop his advance with just a lowly 90-point character, which is very good value. Probably a bit lucky with some of those regens, but it did what I wanted it to do. It actually stopped him getting in there rather than just slowing him down, which worked out very well. On the left-hand side, well, I couldn't get onto those organ guns without dying, and I didn't want to lose my units because he had higher unit strength than me. So the left-hand flank didn't go as well as I hoped, but it was about right, I think, from the amount of shooting that Elliot was able to put forward. I couldn't get to his war machines without sacrificing the unit that was going in there because of the Iron Guard supporting them and with the characters that he had there. So he defended those well, and that really gave him that control on that left flank. So the final result, well, it was a draw. Slight win to Elliot because of the points that he killed. But all in all, I think a pretty fair result. It was a great game. I didn't know which way it was going to go till the end, and I think losing it through a double 6 and then a turn 7, I don't think there's much I could have done about that. But it was a good game, and as always, as I say, it's important to enjoy the game. And Elliot's a great lad, and really enjoy playing. So, can we say we learned anything? Well, the first thing, which is great, because Elliot knows, is that clarification on withdrawing. So if you withdraw, then you don't count as being as having starting within an inch of the unit you've withdrawn with. So you then can't move within that inch. It's quite a clear clarification, but I think it's worth noting because I think there's been some confusion in the past on that. Speed is so important. Elliot's list was, if it was kill, was going to beat me hands down. Nothing I could do about it. So much defense 6, so much damage he could put out with shooting. But because I had the speed, I was able to get to the tokens, I was able to control it. And that's the only weakness in the Dwarf army, really. The speed that it's got meant that I could stop it scoring on the right flank and I could get that token in the middle. So speed is just a very important factor in any army. Don't underestimate the little guys. Well, I think this goes both ways. Firstly, the dwarves themselves. I think that's they're a great army, but I'm specifically referring here to my Hellmask. For 90 points, he won me the game, quite simply. But the reason was quite subtle. Because he's not so good at combat, he didn't have all the pressure put on him. But then again, he was also able to grind out against a small unit that he didn't want to wipe out, so therefore stopping other units behind him getting forward, which is quite a clever way of using it, or I should say so myself, but it was a way that I wouldn't really have looked at before. But a small unit versus a small unit slows down the game and stops him getting into position. So that worked really well for me there. Focusing fire, it's what Elliot did really well. He chose a unit, shot at it, took it off, and it meant that my regen wasn't able to come into play as much. But it's just a general rule. When you're firing, broadly speaking, I'd say focus your fire. And lastly, but not leastly, I've already gone on about it, but I do like Elliot's Dwarf list here. It's one that I'll be using, and I know people say that the Brock Riders and the Lord on the Beast is the way to go with the Dwarves, but I think that you give up too much doing that, and I think this kind of list with a very solid shooting, slow move forward kind of way is incredibly hard to beat. So great list, and I'm sure Ellie won't mind if I borrow it in the future. And really, the final conclusion is just to say how we got a draw and potentially a win, which is you've got to remember that every game is not kill. There is a scenario to play and play it. So even if an army is on paper going to kill you or do more wounds than you, look at how you can get into a position to score. If you've got the token, which I had here, he has to take that off you, and he also has to get into a position where he can score. It doesn't matter whether he's got the most, as long as you've got some units on the board, you can still win. And there are so many games I see where one side has got 5, 6 solid units and points-wise is still winning, whereas the other side, 2 or 3 beleaguered damage units wins because it's got the scenario tokens. And it's just important to focus on that, because I think armies in this case, I think he had the advantage on the army, but the ability to get onto the tokens and the speed of my army is how we managed to have such a close game in the end.
So there you have it, a hard-fought draw, really good game. I couldn't see which way it was going to go till the end. Thought I had it a couple of times, and if it wasn't for turn 7, I would have, I think. Well, I definitely would have. But no, myself and Elliot both enjoyed it. We talked about it during the game and afterwards. It's one of the things I would always say is, if you go to a tournament, it's always important to want to win. You go there for that. But most importantly is having a good time. And even though that kind of scuppered both of our chances of winning the tournament, it did mean that we had a good time during it. So I think it was worth it. In the end, I finished 5th in the tournament, and Elliot finished 3rd. So well done to him. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. If you have any comments, please leave them below. And please subscribe to the Geeky Goblin channel for further battle reports and hobby updates that will be passing out lots of content in the next few weeks, I'm sure. So look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care.